right, everybody, welcome to another episode of Speak Black Man podcast. This is episode 1 of season 6, and I am your host, Jason B. Allen, better known as Professor JBA, and I'm super excited about this season. Now, go ahead and subscribe to ETV at educationalentities.com. Tonight's conversation is going to be phenomenal. Last week, we had the premiere of season 6 with the CEO of Fathers Incorporated, Kenneth Braswell. Many people know him across the nation, but definitely in Georgia with his work with fathers and how we are building male engagement throughout the state. So definitely make sure you check out that episode, get connected and tuned in to the conversation. Now, we do have a couple of tech issues on this evening, so hopefully, I believe the YouTube channel and other platforms are still coming through. It may not be on the Educational Entities Facebook page, but it's okay. Check in and get connected to the conversation. Now, it's about 2 minutes after 7:20. I want to get right into community power. I'm not going to hold you long, but here's some upcoming events to build community power, right? Bringing people together, and most importantly, making a change in the communities that we want to see. I got to address this before we even talk about community building. Too many Black people too many Americans, too many people in general are distracted about who's Black, who's a foundational Black, who's a descendant of slaves. Are you Black if you came from Haiti? Are you Black if you have family from Cuba? Are you Black if you have indigenous people in your family? Are you Black enough if you have the one white cousin that's on your dad or your mom's side of the family? We're having a lot of conversations around Blackness based off of Donald Trump questioning Vice President Kamala Harris. Is she Black? I think we're too caught up in ethnicity, race, and missing the importance of humanity. We also are missing the point that, God gave people this thing called free will, right? We can't build community power without community. And in community, we have to realize that everyone is not always going to get along. We're not going to always agree. We're not going to have the same beliefs, which makes us all unique. And so I really just want to encourage adults, those who are definitely of the legal age to vote, but definitely adults, not even so much young adults, but really cautioning adults to be mindful of the ways that we show up on social media, the way that we show up in real life, interacting with people, and most importantly, not going to the extreme in regards to somebody having a difference of opinion. And I think that our young people cannot get it right until we as adults get it right. So community power, make sure that we're checking in on community. We're actually being connected to community, and we're having intentional conversations. Now, with that being said, there are some phenomenal events coming up this week. I want to challenge everyone locally to get involved in local politics. Yes, we are voting on the United States president. However, in every state, in every city, we have major local elections that are happening. Everybody is crying about inflation, but people saying that they're not voting. Well, there will be someone that is voted into an office or who keeps an office that is impacting policies, business that connects to economics, right? So, a lot of the things that we are hearing people complain about, a lot of the things that people are saying on social media, you should not vote. Again, I'm talking specifically to Black Americans, Black communities. If voting was not important, then the confusion, the dissension between fellow Black Americans, the extremes that people are going to discount people from voting, that would not be important, right? It would not be making an impact if there wasn't something behind voting. So if you are listening in to the conversation on this evening, make sure that you get people in your network, in your community, connected to conversations around voting. I'll definitely say every family should vote and have a plan to vote. So check out this amazing organization called the National Parents Union. Go ahead and get signed up on the link. Every family votes. Because guess what? Community power can't happen without us. Now, I want to go right into today's conversation for episode 1. This is, again, no stranger to uh, the conversation, but also the platform on this evening, and I cannot find it near me. I wanted to ask, oh, it's on the other side, ask everyone, what book are you reading? Drop that in the chat. I can't believe it's almost October. I'm currently finishing my books that I set out to read for the year. I have one book that I want to finish out before 2025, but I'm currently writing my third book, Centering Student Engagement, and that is a perfect introduction to our guest for this evening. Jovan is no stranger to the platform. Jovan, I will allow you to, of course, introduce yourself, man. Tell the people who you are, the organizations that you, because it's probably more than one that you're running. Um, yeah, just a little bit about yourself. So I'll give you some time to do that.
All right. Well, hello everyone. My name is Jovan Manning. I am the head student for Students for Equity. You may have seen me on the No Cat podcast. I am currently a senior in high school. You may have seen me around the Lilly Foundation for Change events. Or work with ICE Team, or at the Black Male Educator Day at the Capitol, or all over the Metro Atlanta region. But I'm also a member of Walking Authority Teen Council that is based on inside of Morrow. So Walking Authority is basically like a teen council that focuses on leadership and promoting community building. So that is a perfect introduction of who I am and what I do.
All right, everybody. On episode 1, we are talking about Black boys and Black young men. Um, one of the things that we know to be true is that we don't listen to our Black boys. We don't listen to Black young men. And so I want to go right into it and talking to a Black brother who is leading young people. I want to go right into the importance of listening to Black boys. I know too often, of course, as a teacher, we talk at Black boys, but we don't listen to Black boys. So, Jovan, I want you to just open us up and start with the importance of listening to Black boys. Why should we be listening more to Black boys?
Well, I'm gonna just go on with like the heavy hitter. Listening to Black boys is crucial because, of course, we also are incredibly intelligent, but also creative. So if there's things that you want to do that we may have an interest or we have connections doing, that is the perfect way for us to express ourselves. But also, a lot of Black boys, including myself, we all struggle with our own inner demons. So like our own mental health, we tend to let our pride get the best of us instead of actually speaking out. So that is one of the major things of why listening to like Black boys in particularly is important.
Okay, so I'm hearing what you're saying, right? But I also want to be honest and say, do we even as adults, teachers, parents, guardians, caretakers, do coaches, no one is excluded from this. Let's be honest, because I really want to help parents with this. Are we really setting up safe spaces for Black boys to really like completely just be honest with what they like, what they're interested in, taboos that we don't talk about, stereotypes that we place on Black boys? Do we really create safe spaces for Black boys to truly like speak their minds and tell us, hey, this is how I feel, this is what's going on, this is what I think, etc. and so forth?
So personally for me, for my environments, um, I have had that experience where I'm able to kind of express on what it is that is bothering me, what are the things that I need, what are the things I can see be changing, or just talk about anything. But with the rest of like my peers or people my age, typically no, because of course you see people in their or preteens and like teens, especially becoming like violent. So they'll have misdemeanors or felonies based off their environment because they typically are not heard. But also, you have to look at the environment that they're raised in because most people are in a negligent household or they're in an abusive household. So that
Hmm.
plays in like how their psyche is developed over time. Plus, you also have to look in like the music and stuff because I've learned over the time that music has its own vibration. So whatever you're hearing, it also transforms on who you are specifically.
Yeah, man. Listen. Okay, you're dropping some knowledge for the people, so I hope they're taking notes on this. I want to come back to a couple of things, but I definitely want to go to the question that's on the screen. Why don't black boys feel comfortable communicating their needs? I'm a, it's all on you, man. I
Right.
have my notions, but I definitely want to give you space to answer this. And again, if anybody has any questions, please drop them in the comment section. Um, Go ahead, Javon.
So, as I stated previously, our pride does get the best of us because, of course, generally when you see with like men, but also boys, how we don't express our emotions or our needs is because we don't view ourselves as valuable enough to do anything. We're just viewed as someone that is a caretaker, provider, protector. That's all our basic roles. We don't really express anything else. But back to the part with our pride. Pride is one of the dangerous things that I've seen with my own peers when it comes to communicating their needs because whenever we're denied, it is one of the most interesting things to see per se about if they're going to quote unquote crash out or if they're actually going to sit back, acknowledge what they said, or sit back, acknowledge what they said, and rephrase it or question it in a way that they're able to effectively say it. But most people don't typically think about that because it's just, I want this, I want this, I want this, instead of actually sitting back and analyzing on, okay, how did I say this wrong? How did I come off this person wrong? Because that typically shapes on how we are communicating ourselves.
That's good. Let me ask you this. Um, a lot of family models are different. You know, we have modern American families where you have two parent households, you have co parents. Um, some fathers are deceased, some fathers are in prison, some fathers just aren't active or connected for a myriad of reasons. I want to give you space to talk about the importance of mentors, the importance of teachers, because a lot of times, especially uh, for those of us who believe that it takes a village to raise a child, um, we do battle the absent fathers, dynamic a lot. But we do have some phenomenal brothers in our communities that are helping bridge the gap. So I want you, as a student who is getting ready to graduate, by the way, let me just also throw that out there. Public service announcement. This is a fourth season of the No Cap Zone podcast, which changed from the Atlanta Student Coalition, which also changed from like I can't remember the original student group name. However, um, for someone who has been an advocate, for someone who has like been in a myriad of programs, talk to us a little bit about the importance of having black male teachers and educators uh, in your school or maybe in your educational program.
Okay, because this was actually going to be interesting. What I've seen when it comes to the importance of having like mentors or any black female role models, it is able to significantly boost our confidence. Because, of course, I've been like in like a mentoring program called Young Men's Rising. That was like three different brothers coming together, sitting down with like a group of young black adults trying to help them navigate, whether if it's in a professional way, whether if it's in a mental way, physical way, whatever you need. Um, Another thing that it is besides, well, I'm gonna go back to the confidence thing. The confidence thing is really key because when we see someone like like us putting in the work or in a position that we thought we can never be in, it can increase their potential of being a graduate or college graduate, trade graduate, whatever. It basically unlocks a door within our minds to endless opportunities. And then back to the black male teachers. That is, or I think I did cover that, so we're good.
Cool. I would definitely say this. We are encouraging through our work in Georgia and the National Parents Union, Profound Gentlemen, Fathers Inc. We're encouraging more younger dads to become teachers, to get involved in education. But let me also say this, especially for younger dads, working dads, education is a good field to be in, especially if you're already coaching, you do after school programming. We're advancing a digital society. And so, how does, you know, STEM, how does engineering, all of that, like connect to what we're doing in school? So, I definitely want to take that moment as a public service announcement to encourage more men or fathers to become teachers. I also want to ask you this. I grew up during a time when we had like Dwayne Wayne. He was the math teacher, and Colonel Taylor in a different world. And so we had um, like people to grow up, and everybody wanted to kind of like have that same swag that Dwayne had, with the glasses and just the sweaters, the jackets with the briefcase, like all of that, right? Um, I know that we have Abbott Elementary School, and that is really helping to shed light on the importance of specifically having black male educators in our school building. What do you think it would take for us to get more young black boys, more young black men invested in like careers in education, careers in government, careers in health sciences, outside of just the typical things of rap music, football, basketball, rap? Like, that's a lot of the things that we hear collectively from boys. Like, I want to play football. I want to be a basketball player. I want to be a rapper. Um, what are we not doing? Let me ask it in this sense. What are we not doing to help connect the dots? Everybody wants these things, and we always see the outcomes, right? But how can we change the narrative in encouraging more of our young black boys and young black men to have um, stable, lucrative careers?
Well, back to the part where you're mentioning about like people who want to be football, be rap or rap artists, or anything that you'll see typically within that group. It is something that we generalize as, oh, it's easy because when you're doing like basketball, football, or anything athletic, you're able to burn off energy that you may have that you were able to expose of properly as a child or just in general. With rap, you're basically, some people just want to be a storyteller, whether if they're, I would say fabricating, because there are people who do that.
Hmm.
Also for them to shed light on their own life or people around them. But
I like
for,
that storytelling piece.
yeah, because rap was originally like storytelling, like you're basically telling your own life or things around you instead of all this chaos. Now I'm gonna just leave it at that. But
Yeah, I mean,
to,
it is storytelling. Like, I'm glad that you highlighted that, like the art of storytelling. Podcasting is, a part of storytelling. Books, um, music is such an intricate part. Man, music is such an intricate part of where we are, um, as a people. I also think it's a notion, of who has ownership in the music companies, what is in control of the messages. And so I think about the music industry and the machine that is pushing forward. Um, the only thing that can come to top of my head is Sexy Red. Uh, I think it's like it's a bop, right? When it's in the, I guess when you're in the club, like okay, it sounds good.
Yeah.
But then I'm also thinking about just the overall messages and degeneracy that is being pushed. Like in there, what are your thoughts on this? Like, what are your thoughts? We since we're on music, I want to hear from you, and also like people who you're connected to that are, of course, your generation. Like, what is the variety of music? We also do this too often that we assume that all black boys and all black children listen to rap music. So first of all, maybe educate us on what are some music that your generation is actually listening to outside of the hip hop rap music that we see pushed on social media.
So I'm gonna just go on like with the general thing that I see people listening to, like my generation. Of course, you'll see like rap and whatnot, but also we have like drill, which is one of the launches versions of rap where you're mentioning about murders and stuff. But things that people that do not see of what we actually listen to, we can listen to classical music. We've listened to R&B. We've listened to regular pop. We've listened to a variety of different music. But the main thing that I've seen is people like really push on like drill or regular rap because they find some form of relatability within the lyrics, or it's just the beat that they find that attracts them the most. Um, with the messages and stuff, the messages particularly are negative. Of course, with drilling, when I mentioned murders, but when we listen to R&B or classical, we're taking a step back to actually kind of recalibrate on how our brain is with, of course, the beats, because beats carry a certain frequency that affects everybody in its own way. What else? Yeah, that's generally it. Cause it
It's the
just,
messaging.
yeah,
I mean, we these conversations sometimes I feel like are age old because you know I mean, when I was growing up, it was like it was the beat. Like I love Biggie, I love Tupac. Now my daddy didn't play that. I could not listen to rap music. So the ironic thing is, like my childhood friends, we all grew up in church together. We used to have to sneak and listen like to rap music, and some of the music I was like, yeah, this is kind of horrible. Some of it I thought it was like good stories. I'm not trying to do everything that I hear, Jay Z or Lil Kim rapping about, right?
mm,
But I also realized that there was a lot of darkness in the stories that are being told. And so this takes me into another question that I want to ask you in regards to storytelling and perceptions and how people perceive us. Famous question that I feel like everybody probably, if you're a black man in America, have been asked. But have you ever been stereotyped? And if you have recently, like, kind of just share with us your thoughts around as a black, well, I'll say young man because you're not a boy any longer, but as a young, black man, how does it feel to be stereotyped, and how does that impact you mentally, socially, and emotionally?
I don't really remember or have any like memories, but I think I can remember one, and I think this was like when I was in public and stuff, like with my friends once, and I remember people talking generally about what the black community listened to. And I remember them pointing at like me and my friends like, oh, this is an example because all we're doing is just like walking around talking. And it was like, why would you push the narrative of what everybody listens to and you don't really understand? Because I'm not going to use the term racist because that's not really what is used. Because Some people I know they can become like bigots where they don't like certain like races and stuff, or they're just prejudiced. In the time I've been around people, they just been like purely prejudiced on things of the black community of their boys, based off what we do and what we listen to.
I want to. The reason why I'm asking this question is because recently there was a school shooting here. Well, also let me take that. Let me retract that. There have been
Yeah,
a couple of school shootings in Georgia, but most recently the one that's been on the news and Channel Two. You know, when they were discussing, hey, there's a school shooting, they placed up the picture of the young black male and like kind of depicted or alluded to him being the shooter. And that happens a lot on the media. Like it happens a lot in social media. So, given that example, and also want to follow that example up with this question: how does it impact you as a young black man coming of age in America when you see clear examples of racism, of bigotry, um, of bias? How does that impact you? And yeah, let's start there. How does that impact you?
well, the way that it impacts me is like a negative way because I really didn't watch the news, but I found out later through like my mom and then my head of schools like mentioning it to me. Um, it has like a negative view because, of course, when you're alluding that Mason, because that's his name, Mason, was
Hmm.
allegedly the shooter, it's like you really think that every child of the black community is violent, has some sort of access to weapons whenever one, they're not properly trained, so they don't know how to operate or maintain the weapon efficiently. Two, some people don't even have the means to do it.
Wow.
Because Mason, when I was doing research on him, dude was a freshman and all he was focused on was his education. He didn't care about anything else. He cared about his family, he had friends, but the main thing he was focused on was his education. I don't remember what he was trying to be specifically, but those are like the main things that you'll find people like me feeling about what happened at or in Barrow County.
Yeah, I'm glad you shared those thoughts, and um, I'm centering a lot of questions, asking you and giving people ways that they can have conversations with the young men in their life because socially, emotionally, that's a major thing. I can't put myself in the shoes of young black boys and young black men who are in middle school and high school in Georgia who live in areas that are outside of the metro Atlanta area or, that don't have diversity. So being that, you know, five or six, families of color, whether you are black, Hispanic, multiracial, uh, in communities that may not be as diverse or welcoming. I can't imagine what those students are going through right now as we speak, as they prepare to go back into another school day at their school and not knowing if they're going to be targeted because of the color of their skin. So I appreciate you giving some thought to that, and also really kind of sharing again what your perspective is. I want to ask you this. I know we're getting kind of close on time, but I want to um, ask you about the portrayal of black boys in the media, social media, and everyday life. Um, Maybe give us an example of how you navigate uh, again through those spaces. I know you have a very unique learning uh, experience, and you have a uniqueness in regards to having a parent and village that advocates for you to have the best educational uh, opportunities, but everyone does not have that. So I want to close us out on this question. Um, how does the portrayal of black boys? Again, we talked about Mason and that misidentifying him is a major thing. But maybe give us some insight as a young black male. the portrayal of black boys that you see on the media, especially social media, a lot of the fighting videos, um, sagging pants is still a thing. The lack of cleanliness, hygiene, the lack of responsibility of relationships, especially with young girls and teenage pregnancy, is going up. But we also have a presidential candidate that wants to continue abortion bans and also remove health care, um, health education, and also resources. So again, black boys are normally negatively portrayed in the media and social media. How does that impact you? And what do you do to change that?
So within like social media that I've seen with like people that I've followed or their mutuals and stuff, I've seen them either like carrying around guns, which is stupid, like posting on their stories and posting it in like their actual post, whether it's on Instagram or Twitter. Um, but also you see a bunch of people just doing like a bunch of stupid things, like acting like they're in a gang or whatnot. Whenever clearly they don't understand the actual culture behind it. So when it comes to those two things, I would say that this also reinforces the stereotype of how they view black boys, particularly because if you're just giving people a portrayal of you having guns, having access to guns, oh, a couple more things, having access to drugs, having act or from drill music, putting up gang signs, being around your friends, and like acting like you're either Crip, Blood, disciple, Black Disciple, or any other major gang groups is stupid and ironic at the same time. Um, so those are like the main things I would really feel about us being portrayed on the media, because instead of you finding a different way, like you producing, if you do produce music, because I've seen people do that, do it in the forms of a positive way. If you want to do something like content creation, whether if you're like just posting strictly on one social media platform, or you're posting more like on YouTube and anything else, find different ways to connect with people instead of just having a specific group and just bringing them down as long with you.
That's good. That's good. Okay. I know I said that was going to be the last question, but see, you said something in this I feel like is important. What would you say to a black dad, a black mom, a black caretaker, grandparent, aunt, uh, maybe a mentor, godfather like myself? What would you say to us in regards to looking for signs of um, like needing support mentally, needing an outlet? Like how should we look for things? And I want to even be more specific. Like as a young black male, like what are things that we should be looking for in regards to, um, you know, students or young people tampering with drugs, or they may be considering suicide? Like what are some signs that we should be looking for, um, that we don't pick up on, to know that we need to have a different type of conversation, or provide a different type of safe space for young people? What should we be
All right.
looking for?
So I'm gonna just say this: specific things that I've seen, like my peers and stuff, things that you should really be looking for if they're like considering suicide is if their if their social interaction has decreased, if they're isolating a lot, or if they're generally aggressive, like them becoming aggressive a lot more than usual that you've seen within their entire life. Um, because those are like some strong indicators on saying, hey, this person is not okay. But also, you have to take in a look when it comes to like drug usage, because I know most people they'll use like vape, weed pens, or just general weed. But also, I've seen people use like mixes between cocaine and stuff, or I haven't even seen it. I've heard people use like mixes like my generation, and they're like hyperactive. Like I gotta constantly do something. or they're like, man, I'm gonna just relax. I ain't got nothing to do. They're like zone out completely, whether it's or based off that drug. So it's just specific things that you really have to look at. But also you have to keep in mind that specific children they're naturally like hyperactive or they like to disassociate or
Yeah,
anything else.
that's good, and I'm gonna encourage people to stay connected to the No Cap Zone podcast led by the students to really like connect more on these conversations of things that you should be um, looking for. And I think to really close us out, it starts at the beginning of this hour when we talked about the importance of listening to black boys, listening to young black men, not talking at them, um, but being in conversation with them, being in community with them, being like present with them. I think that is really important, especially in this climate that we're in right now, where people don't take the time to truly um, listen. They hear things, they get quick information. A lot of it is not factual. So spending time building those relationships with our young people are important. Jovan, I gotta close us out on this. Kendrick Lamar. Does
Here we
your
go.
generation listen to Kendrick Lamar? Like who is the artist? Go ahead and settle this for us. Who is
Okay,
the artist that you guys would, not all of you, because I don't want to just group all of your generation,
it's a
but
whole
some
diverse
of the artists
battle.
that you listen to um, specifically.
So within like the, are you talking about like the recent beef between like Drake and Kendrick? He's related to that part.
I mean, yeah, who do you think won? Go ahead and tell us. I mean, who you?
I mean, it's pretty obvious that Kendrick won because one, Kendrick is not constantly on social media. You'll see him with like his fake or his real account, but he's not on there generally. He's actually like focused about his own community, like in Compton. I remember there's a clip of him like going back and talking to like the graduates at Compton. I believe it's either Compton College or Compton University. He
Okay,
like does different things. He also like connects with the children. He has his own children, so he knows how to navigate that. Plus, he's actually focused on delivering the truth in his music. Besides Drake, because Drake is focused on a general thing that we see with like him collaborating with like Sex Red or 21 Savage with them having like diverse backgrounds within their own music, but also degeneracy. So
yeah,
typically, I'll just align myself with Kendrick within his whole beef.
yeah. Kendrick has some dope music out. I'm also going to throw out this artist, Scholar the Artist. If you follow me on IG, a lot of my posts are centering um, the music of Scholar the Artist. Last season, I had a different artist, local artist in Atlanta, some dope music that is featured. So I'm also trying to help, like, put the word out there about, young black brothers, black rappers who have some positive, conscious, like storytelling music that's good beats, good message. I'm not saying it doesn't have profanity in it, but it does have a good message. So definitely check that out. Jovan, any last words you want to tell the people about the podcast or anything upcoming?
Okay, so with the podcast, we are looking for more members because sadly, this is my last year really being on the podcast. Like you see me face to face. So if you are interested, please hit us up at studentsforequityinschools@gmail.com, or you can find our social media page, Students for Equity. You'll see our icon as you see with the flyers. And another thing, if you're in the Metro Atlanta region, in October 5th through the 7th, there's a youth symposium that I'm helping host with the group I mentioned earlier, Walking Authority. So if you are a teen and you're interested, come on down and we'll have a fun time.
Okay, I love that, man. And listen, um, season 4 of the No Cap Zone Students for Equity podcast, Jovan is graduating. Jovan has also been doing this since 7th grade. So, um, we'll see what's going to happen with the podcast and what's going to happen with the student advocacy. We've been doing this for quite some time, and it really has like opened up a lane for student voice. And I'm really, really happy with what I believe the podcast definitely in this next season. So the season is going to take us in um, to May of next year, right before graduation time.
Yeah.
So some good conversations. He's asking for student leaders, parents. You like, I got a child that has a lot to say and they need something to do. Follow educationalentities.com. Go ahead and subscribe to ETV. Jovan, thank you for being on for episode 1. Make sure that you follow this young man. Y'all see him on the screen. Jovan Manning, look him up, Google him, but also Google the Student for Equity Group and make sure, as y'all heard this brother say, get connected. We need some students. Jovan, again, thank you for being on. This is episode 1 of season 6, y'all. Speak Black Man podcast. Make sure you go ahead and get the book, Suit Swag and Success. First edition of my book is already out. It definitely connects to what we're going to be talking about this season. And also the Speak Black Man Conference, which actually was the Making of Man Conference. But you know what? New brand. So we're updating the name. But next year, that conference will be coming back. I will be having some information coming soon about that. But it's going to be connected to the Speak Black Man brand. So we want to get dads, teachers, families in the state of Georgia that are really invested in male engagement. Make sure you, again, subscribe to educationalentities.com. Before we go, on this Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, definitely want to call everybody to a national conversation. It will be on the National Parents Union Facebook, YouTube page. I'll be moderating the national conversation on cell phones and school safety. This is one of the most urgent, pressing conversations of our time right now, especially while we are preparing for the election. So please make sure that you are tuned in. Get registered, nationalparentsunion.org. Go and check out our work and make sure you get connected. But the town hall on this Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The information is on any of my social media platforms. If you have a child in school in the United States and you are concerned about school safety, access to your child through cell phones, and also how we're even reimagining education through the usage of cell phones, you need to be connected to this conversation because you will be surprised what is happening in these United States in regards to protecting children in schools and also cell phone usage. So make sure you get connected to that conversation. Go ahead and subscribe to educationalentities.com for ETV. This is episode 1 featuring Jovan Manning from Students for Equity. Hey, this has been an amazing conversation. We will see you guys next week, 7:15 a.m. for the rewatch of this conversation. And then episode 2, 7:15 p.m. next Monday to close out the month of September. Peace and love, everybody.